right, guys, old man Curtis has come back from his convalescence vacation. I feel recharged. I feel ready to rock and roll. And even though I wasn't covering the news, I was watching it, and it was a lot of interesting news leading up to now. So I want to touch on some of that news, deal with the news of the last couple of days and some of the big news today to catch up and get us moving forward to this huge free agency period that's coming up, for this huge draft that's coming up, and for this tremendous season that is coming up. So I want to give you guys a shout out. It was so nice. I went back and just lightly checked some of the comments, and people were like, "Where are you, Curtis? Hope you're doing well. Hope the vacation." Such kindness. I really appreciate you guys. So I want to give you guys a shout out, like I always do. A shout out to Ace Bread, my sponsor, because without you, without them, this show ain't going down. Ace Bread's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, so I'm going to have the chapters. You'll see what kind of all this stuff is about. And then I'm going to chop it up. It's this way you don't have to go through the whole thing. I'm going to do the whole long thing again. Not going to do the video insertion just yet. Got to ease back into that. So first thing I want to cover is the good news. I was so happy to hear Mike Pouncey was coming back and signing a one-day contract and retiring a Dolphin. You know, I love me some offensive line. My offensive line is what I really love to focus on. I mean, running back first, but running back and the offensive line are married. So Mike Pouncey returning was a great feel-good, along with what we saw with Fangio, Zach Thomas going to the Hall of Fame. And it was just so weird seeing him come back 50 pounds lighter with the tattoos on his bald head. Maybe I should get some tattoos on my bald head, get some more views or something. I don't think my wife will let me. But it was really weird to see him, but good to see him. And, you know, Mike Pouncey was a guy that people thought we reached on, and he was an unbelievable player. But unfortunately, he really just reveals how mercurial this league is, this game is. Because you can have all the talent in the world, but injuries can just change things dramatically. They can cut short your career. They can hinder your career and ultimately even end it. Mike Pouncey was a guy with uber talent who just, his body wasn't the greatest at absorbing the sheer brutality of this game. Nobody's designed to absorb this, but some are better than others. Mike Pouncey was a phenomenal pick for us. Injuries, though, it was just really limited it. So, but it was great to see him back. He had that Teron Armstead kind of feel, just a great personality, great leader, great talent. And I'm glad to see him come back. It's just a nice, feel-good thing. Now, on the second part of the good stuff was all the cap space that was created. Now, to me, a lot of stuff that happened, I kind of said was going to happen. I'm not a genius or anything. A lot of people saying it's kind of the same things. But for me, it's great news during this next 23, 24, certainly the 23, but even maybe the 24 window. My concern is the 25 and 26. What is it going to do for us going forward? Because we only have so much money. People want to talk about there's no such thing as a cap. That's a little disingenuous. You look at the Bills right now, they're telling you there's a cap is real. You look into the Jets trying to fit in Rodgers right now, they'll tell you the cap is real. You look at the Rams, they're going to tell you the cap is real. Look at the Titans. You can fudge this stuff, and you can push, borrow from Peter to pay Paul over and over and over again. But eventually, Peter's going to be like, dude, I'm done. You got to make your cuts. And so at a certain point, it's going to restrict us and force us to reboot and restart. And along the way, I think we're going to end up losing some players that we might like. But the great news is this 2023 season is our peak talent year. Maybe somehow a lot of finagling 24. So these 2 years look like we're going to have a quality team if we can flesh it out, and we need to flesh it out. There's still a lot to do, and I don't think it's a lot of buying big pieces. We got a second and third. Going to have to use those wisely. But that $28 million, because we were at negative $600K. We were at negative $16 million. Then we adjusted with Chubb, and we were at negative $600K. and now we're at $28 million. I think that factors in Byron Jones. That $28 million minus 6 for the draft, 5 or 6. Going to leave you about 22. You're going to have to try to fit Wilkins in there. You're going to have to kind of bring out a lot of depth. And so I don't think there's going to be any big signings, but the big signings could be good quality depth. We're going to need it at corner. We're going to need it at linebacker. We're going to need it at offensive line. We're going to need it at offensive line. We're going to need it at offensive line. Tight end, we got no running backs. And so I think, this money, if it's spent wisely, we can, all this top talent, because you look, we got Hill, Waddle, you got Armstead and Connor and Hunt, and whatever you want to say about Tua, when he's in, he's better than anybody since Marino. And then you got Phillips, and you got Chubb, and you got Wilkins, and you got Sealer, and you got Kohu's unbelievable pickup. Thank you, Boyer. And you got X when he's healthy, and you got Holland, and a bunch of other guys. This team has what it takes to really do something good. So this $28 million is going to allow us to add meat to the bones. A lot of top-end talent on these bones. But we're going to need to add depth, and I think they have enough ammo. But again, to me, Zach Sealer is going to be the first litmus test of what we're going to do, who we can possibly lose. I'm going to do a podcast just on that because it's going to be tough, and there's a lot of hard questions about what to do with Zach Sealer. I want to keep him. Don't get me wrong. I want to keep him. But if you're going to pay Wilkins 20-something million, I did a podcast on this before I left, and you're going to pay another 16, 17, 18. I even did an article at Finn's News about it. It's going to get a little dicey. So it's going to be interesting to see who we can keep and who we don't along the way. But great news, 23 and 24 looks very good. And you can see right here that Hill is going to cost us 28 and 31 million to keep in 24 and 25. He'll be 30 and 31 years old. Now, yeah, we can get rid of him and save 16 million, but we're going to lose 12 million. Yeah, we can keep him for 19, save 19, but we're going to lose 12 million. And then you look over at Chubb. You're going to have Chubb for a couple of years. And you can kind of get rid of him the next season, but he's going to be about 26 million a year. 26 million a year for Chubb, 20 million for Wilkins. You got almost 30 million for Hill. Waddle's coming up soon. Tua, you're going to have to get a quarter. If you keep Tua, even if you keep him for 23, this is going to really start ballooning. And I do think Greer is good enough with his staff to push it forward to 25. But 25 looks like it could be a hard reboot. And I don't know if we're going to lose any guys along the way, but we'll see. Now, that's all good news for now because to me, we need to get this staff and team feeling good, looking good, and being clear that they're the future. And I don't think we need to win the Super Bowl. And I really do think that the conference championship is where we need to hit. But you got to hit a little caveat, that small caveat that I'm going to deal with that after this next topic. Now, one of the deals, offensive line. There was a little question marks over there. Frank Smith was saying some stuff. Oddness of Eichenberg being put in there when he shouldn't. And then we lost Applebaum, and we kind of didn't understand that. And then we replaced him with somebody who's, I don't know, horizontal or descending in talent maybe or an ability. But we see right here, and it was put out a couple, I guess about 12 days ago by Joe Shad. Frank Smith is going to have an expanded role as the Dolphins coach. Mike McDaniel indicated earlier today. Smith had a chance to go to the OC, be an OC for another AFC team this offseason, but the Dolphins were able to hold on to their OC as well as their QB coach, Darrell Bevel, helping Tua. So a lot of people were saying that Applebaum couldn't cut it because Smith had to come in and help him out, but it looks like he's going to do it anyway. So that kind of whole story seems to be kaput. And it looks like he had an opportunity to be an OC someplace else. And the reality is Mike McDaniel is the OC, and there is always that little bit of problem when a guy is maybe good enough to be an OC and you got somebody else kind of running the show, he has the opportunity to go someplace else. So it really kind of creates, it's good to have Smith and McDaniel working together. But the downside with McDaniel being the OC is it's going to be hard to find guys that are good enough to be OCs to come in here. I would like to Smith to just stayed here anyway. I think we should have kept Applebaum. I don't know what's going on in the background. Maybe they just let Applebaum go so they could keep Smith. I thought that should have been more clear if that was the case. But there was a little bit of who knows going on there. And I think this reveals some of the truth behind that. You know, really, this season now, it's good for a reason. Because if Applebaum was in here, he could have been the guy that could have been put forward as the guy to get this head cut if this offensive line doesn't pan out, or if Eichenberg and Jackson don't step up. But now, clearly, Smith is the guy taking control of the, basically the backdrop of the offense and the offensive line, so we know who to look at. And really, if you look at the offensive coordinators and the offensive line coaches before this, each one of them has been blamed. And this year it was Applebaum. Well, now it's going to be Smith. I think if it doesn't work out, we have to move on from the coaching staff and just look at the talent. That's great news. And I want it to work out because, guys, we have so much turnover. I wanted Flores to be here for a long time and ride it out because I want to follow the pattern of the Steelers, who are the paragon of consistency. They brought Cowher in, and it wasn't instant success. They let it build. He had some rises, a little bit of stumbles. He went to the Super Bowl, and he lost. It was a little bit of a down period. Then they got Big Ben, and then they won the Super Bowl. But they rode it through with the right guy. If McDaniel's the right guy, we just got to ride it through. And it's not always going to be if we get to this point. I know a lot of people last year, including me, I said we have to get to the playoffs. And then when we got Chubb, I said we need a playoff win. But when you look at all the injuries, you have to add that caveat and not get too down on the situation. And it's the same thing going forward with McDaniel. He's got all kinds of talent. It's not perfect. It's going to take some luck. But then it's not just about what you do. It's about what the teams do around you. And right now you're seeing Jets' only team to pursue Rodgers. And this changes things. This alters the framework. Yeah, you could say he's got to win and beat. But let me tell you something. I see some takes that are a little dubious and a little questionable about Rodgers going to the Jets. Edward over here. I remember when Brett Favre went from Green Bay to New York to join us. And then, that's kind of like a slight to say, well, this guy's just another washed out, burned out 39-year-old. And I think that's a shortcut. He didn't really clearly say it, but he was kind of hitting at it. So I think if you look at Matt Infante, I don't really follow him too much, but I appreciate him. And I'm going to show you a good example of good journalism that's not cheap because there's some bad takes after here. And I've decided I'm just going to kind of, as a fan and a guy up here, when I see takes, I'm just going to call them out. I'm sure, if I was big enough, people would call out my takes. So it's not to say I don't like people, but I think the fan base gets a little confused sometimes. So Matt Infante said in 2008, the Jets acquired a slightly washed up future Hall of Fame QB from Green Bay. Everybody fawned over the move. In 2003, but the Dolphins won the AFC East. In 2003, the Jets are on the verge of acquiring a slightly washed-up Hall of Fame quarterback from Green Bay. Everybody will again fawn over the move. History to repeat? ? And that, to me, showed a lot because he is kind of pushing it forward like, hey, this is what it looks like. But is it? And to me, that's a fair take and a much better take than Ed Werder had. Because the truth is, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and the 2007 Jets and the 2022 Jets are totally different and in totally different places. I'm here to tell you clearly, no matter what anybody tells you, and I'll own up to it, I'm wrong, Rodgers going to the Jets should make both the Bills and the Dolphins and the Patriots turn ahead and go, whoa, dangerous. This Jets team in 2007 had given up 350 points on defense. Favre came in 2008. They gave up 405 points on defense. Favre threw 22 picks and 22 touchdowns, and he bumped up their point total from 270 in 2007 to 400, I think it was, or something like that in 2008. So he increased the offense. The defense was garbage, went to more garbage, and he threw tons of picks. This is not how this defense and this team and Rodgers is going to play. Last year, Rodgers threw 12 picks, bum finger, bad back. His offensive line was gutted, and he had new receivers who weren't any good. When he goes to the Jets, this is going to make this Jets team highly dangerous. And McDaniel is going to be battling two ferocious teams within his own division. And it's very difficult and you can add the Patriots. Patriots were so close. They had like some boneheaded, retarded plays that would have probably put them in the playoffs over us if they didn't totally screw it up. I said last year the AFC East was going to be a buzzsaw. You look at what the Jets did with a top 5 defense that can play man coverage, they can get after the quarterback, they can run the football, and it's got a pretty darn good offensive line and picks to boost things up with some unbelievable receivers. Unbelievable receiver they picked up in the draft. And then you add that with the Bills, who look like they might be taking a little step down, but they're going to be tough. And the Patriots, they're coming up with a new offensive coordinator. This is going to be a very, very brutal division. But if McDaniel, he can lower these penalties, if he can get the team playing right and, keep it close and make it look like, well, hey, we lost because that was a better team rather than we screwed up. We have to stick by this guy. So we got to stick by this guy if he's the right guy. We need to have consistency. If he has all kind of penalties and he melts down, in big games because he's having a hard time controlling things, it's a different story. But I said going into the season, to me, McDaniel was the best roll of the dice for the, young, green, talented head coach. But we're going to have to give this guy 2 years to get used to it. It's totally different being up in the booth than coming down and running the whole team and calling plays. So last year was last year. It can't repeat to that same magnitude. I think it's going to repeat at a minor scale this year, but that should be normal. We should understand that. But if he gets things in control and say Rodgers goes to his Jets team and they're super tough, and we go against his Bills team that's going to be tough, and we kind of get back to the playoffs and maybe get to that second round, we have to stay positive. Rodgers is going to turn this Jets team into a monster. Now, what we do in the draft, what we do in free agency, and how we play out and the luck we get, they're not going to be the sure better team than us. But we could still beat them, but it ain't going to be easy, folks. This 2023 season is going to be extraordinarily tough. And we have to judge this franchise, even Greer, who I'm not the hottest guy on, in the framework of what the situation is. Because you keep going fish, and you keep going fish, and you get what you got for the last 20 years. McDaniel showed a lot of good stuff, some stuff that be concerned. This team showed tons of good stuff and things to be concerned. But we got to judge it in a fair and honest way. We've got to stay consistent. If this guy proves to be, and this franchise, this group of players prove to be guys that are giving everything they got, and they're just getting beat by better teams, and they're doing what they need to. If they totally crap out, it's a totally different story. But I think this team is poised. But Rodgers going to the Jets is a major, major game changer in your evaluations for what the ceiling and for what the floor is of this team. It's going to be fascinating football if it happens. There's going to be 3 brutal teams with the Patriots, who I think are going to rise again. And it's going to be an amazing year for football lovers watching this competition, whether Rodgers comes or not, but especially if he does. Now, I want to call out two little tweets that I got that bothered me. And normally I wouldn't say anything, but I'm going to have to do it going forward. I get people in comments do it to me all the time, so why should I do it to others? You know, but I'm not doing it in meanness, because everybody I put up here I respect because I pay attention to them. But you got to call out stuff that I didn't like. Barry Jackson, who I said the last time, he had this really ridiculous take on Fangio, like, what is there? I don't understand if it was, some Hall of Fame quarterback, but a coordinator, a coach or something. So he says right here, Dolphins announced Fangio this morning, and we can all go on with our lives. So basically, people who are getting hot and heavy and bothered by Fangio in and out, should just, use a passive-aggressive attack. It's stupid. In the NFL, coaches are more important than any other sport, and Fangio is gigantic. Gigantic, especially for a green head coach. This is a poor take, and I'm going to be watching him and try to call him out some more if during the season he's like, oh, well, Fangio is such a big... Fangio's huge, guys. He's huge. So for the people who are really positive about it, stay positive. The people who are upset that they weren't sure he was coming, you're sane. This was not a sane take. But then I want to call out Omar Kelly, too. I like Omar a lot. He's kind of called me out once, too, on the down low once last year when I was calling Greer a snake. So I figure I can return serve. Stephen Ross is out there writing major checks. These aren't minor checks. Dolphin fans truly don't know or appreciate what they have in an owner. This is a disingenuous take. Clearly, Stephen Ross is an awesome owner when it comes to spending money, with designing things. I never had a problem with Stephen Ross. What I have a problem with Stephen Ross is he gets involved, he interferes, he does dumb things, and he lies to us. He lied to us in 2019 saying he was out of football operations when he wasn't. He was in the background doing a lot of stuff we still don't even know. He lied to us when he fired Flores and says, we're going to be looking for a coach, and Tua's our guy, when he had Peyton and he had Brady in the wings. Some people like to think that it was all Beal going rogue, or Beal was doing it because, no, Peyton was in there too, and he was doing it during the season. There's a lot of stuff Stephen Ross has done, which is dumb, and it cost us picks. It cost us stupid stuff. He did the dumb thing with the bully gate when he overreacted. He did the thing with Sperano. He did all kind of stupid stuff in the background, trying to run it like a corporation and lying. So, yes, you can look at a person and say, this part of him is really good. This part is not. This is not an honest take. You could just simply have said, fans don't know what kind of owner they got by spending the money. Yeah, he's got some other problems that he needs to work out, and hopefully he has. But in this part, Stephen Ross is A+, and that would have been a good take. So here we are. We're heading into the free agency, and this is going to be very, very fun with $28 million. Not big signings, key signings, though, depth signings. And we got this draft process, and it's going to be amazing. We do the right thing and get about 60 to 70% hit rate on this stuff, both in free agency and the draft. It's going to be unbelievable, guys. So this is a quick shout out. Get back on track. I appreciate all you guys. I really do. Let's get ready, Finn fans. This is a big, big offseason. Probably the biggest offseason I can remember in a long, long time. Legitimate hope, legitimate opportunity, legitimate chance to shake the heavens. Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. See you soon. Go Fins. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with AceParade.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.